NASCAR just told Cleetus McFarland he can't race at Talladega. And the story of how he got here, what actually happened at Rockingham, and what people inside the garage are really saying is way more interesting than any clickbait headline. So let's start from the beginning, because this story has layers that most people haven't fully put together yet. Garrett Mitchell, better known to nearly 5 million YouTube subscribers as Cleetus McFarland, is not your typical NASCAR driver. He built his following by blowing up cars, doing burnouts, and being relentlessly entertaining in a way that professional motorsport rarely produces. He's the car guy through and through. But somewhere along the way, the dream of actually racing in NASCAR stopped being a joke and started being a real possibility. And that possibility started with a single phone call. About a year ago, Ty Dillon, who races in the Cup Series for Childress and happens to be the grandson of Richard Childress himself, came across Cleetus on social media and saw something worth pursuing. Dillon picked up the phone and called him directly. The question he asked was simple but important. What is your goal? Cleetus didn't hesitate. I love the super speedways, he told Dillon, and I would love to one day race in the Cup Series. The Daytona 500 would be awesome. That answer was enough for Dillon to take the idea to his grandfather at Richard Childress Racing. But before he did, Dillon made one thing clear to Cleetus. He told him, "We would only want to do this if you can stay original to who you are. We wouldn't want this to take you off of who Cleetus is, what your channel is, and what makes you fun and you have fun. And if we're not having fun doing this whole project, we're failing." That condition set the tone for everything that followed. This wasn't going to be a corporate sponsorship where Cleetus became a polished, sanitized version of himself. The whole point was to merge two worlds, the massive, passionate audience Cleetus had built and the equally passionate world of Richard Childress Racing, and let them feed each other. The deal was announced in early March 2026. Cleetus McFarland signed on to run 3 O'Reilly Auto Parts Series races per season over a 2-year period with RCR. And as Dillon put it, his fan base is our fan base, but we need to kind of merge them together. I think his people will love us. I think our people will love him. And in the sport of NASCAR together, we can put something great together. The NASCAR world, however, was not uniformly excited. Kyle Petty came out publicly and said that internet personalities like McFarland don't belong on the racetrack with professional stock car drivers. That's not a throwaway comment. That's a NASCAR legend drawing a hard line. And he wasn't alone. Kyle Busch, who actually drives for RCR in the Cup Series, also questioned the decision. Busch pointed out the massive gap in experience and made a comparison that got a lot of attention. I don't know how many races he's... Denny Hamlin ran 10,000 before he got here, right? So I don't know if Cleetus has run 10 or not, but there's definitely a need to having ample experience. My son's probably run more races than he has, and he's 10 years old. That son, for context, is Brexton Busch, who does in fact compete in youth racing. Freddie Kraft, who works as Bubba Wallace's spotter, also voiced concerns about the move. This is the part that matters. These weren't anonymous fans complaining on the internet. These were actual people inside the NASCAR garage raising their hands and saying, "Wait a minute, is this guy really ready?" Cleetus heard all of it, and before his debut, he didn't hide from it. He told reporter Bob Pockras that all these guys can say whatever they want, but if Richard Childress called any of them and offered them a ride, every single one of them would have taken it too. He made it clear, if NASCAR is letting him do it, he's in. The big weekend finally came. Saturday, April 4th, at Rockingham Speedway. Cleetus was pulling double duty, an ARCA Menard Series East race, and then his O'Reilly Series debut later in the same day. 2 races one day, on a track known for being technically demanding. The ARCA race actually went really well. Cleetus kept his car clean throughout and scored his first ever top 5 finish in any NASCAR division, crossing the line in 4th place. After the race, he got emotional. He dedicated the finish to his late friend Greg Biffle, the former NASCAR champion who tragically lost his life along with his wife Christina and their 2 children, Emma and Ryder, in a plane crash in December 2025. Cleetus said he just went out there and turned left for Greg Biffle and that he thought Biffle would be happy he didn't do anything stupid. It was a genuinely moving moment in the middle of what had been a loud, polarizing storyline. But the O'Reilly Series race was a completely different story. Cleetus started 35th out of 38 cars in the number 33 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet. And things got adventurous fast. On just the 4th lap, he found himself in a 3-wide situation going into turn 1, slid sideways, and barely saved it. He lost a significant amount of ground to the field right away. At lap 49, Blake Lothian spun in turn 2 directly ahead of McFarland. As Lothian wandered down the track, McFarland dove to the apron and missed the car by inches. That was a heads-up save, but it underscored just how quickly things can go wrong at this. The biggest moment came at lap 2:06, when his car broke loose in turn 3, slid to the bottom of the track, and spun back into traffic, drawing the 7th caution flag of the day. He also picked up a speeding penalty on pit road and had multiple other spins and half spins throughout the afternoon. When the checkered flag dropped, Cleetus McFarland finished 32nd, 6 laps behind the winner, William Sawalik. After the race, Cleetus was completely honest about how it went. He called it the hardest thing he's ever done in his life. He joked that he spun out 50 times and almost died 10 times. But he also pointed out something important. He didn't wreck anyone else's car, he didn't ruin anyone's day, and he completed 244 of the 250 laps while bringing the car home in one piece. Then came the real talk from inside RCR. And this is where it gets interesting, because the team's response wasn't a glowing celebration. It was candid and measured. Danny Lawrence, RCR's vice president of O'Reilly Series operations, spoke to motorsport.com and acknowledged the difficulty of the situation. He said it was a big step and that Rockingham is a hard racetrack. He noted that Cleetus did really well a couple of times where he could have spun out in front of everybody and did. But then Lawrence got direct. He said there were a lot of things they wanted to see happen that didn't happen. The team never got to do a live pit stop. And when Cleetus got sideways early, the team shifted into conservation. Just keep rolling, don't push too hard. Lawrence also said something that made a lot of headlines. He said he would not be surprised if NASCAR wanted them to run another race before going to Daytona or Talladega, because everything happens so fast at those tracks and they all want to be prepared. Not everyone was critical. Justin Allgaier, the 2024 O'Reilly Series champion, praised Cleetus directly. He said Cleetus did a great job, stayed out of the way every time they lapped him, and that he was proud of him for putting in the effort given all the social media pressure he'd been. Ty Dillon also stood by the project firmly. He said he thinks NASCAR should be proud of how Cleetus represented himself, that he was respectful to the leaders and didn't mess up anybody's. But from the analyst side, the takes were tougher. Tommy Baldwin said his criticism isn't personal, it's about the process. He compared it to being in 7th grade and deciding you're going to skip straight to college. You have to go through the steps. You need to race ARCA, learn car control, drive late model. That's not an attack on Cleetus specifically. It's a structural argument about how racing experience is built. Freddie Kraft went even further. He pointed out that during the race, the broadcast played Cleetus in-car audio, and at one point, he was having a conversation with his spotter where he basically didn't know what inside meant. Kraft called that basic racing 101. For someone entering a professional NASCAR series, that's a significant gap in fundamental knowledge. Even Mark Martin, who has actually been supportive of Cleetus overall, weighed in with a blunt take. He said, the best thing about Cleetus is his interview, a witty way of saying his on-track performance still has a long way to go. Martin agreed that the right place for Cleetus right now is an ARCA. Then came the most significant voice on the matter, Dale Earnhardt Jr. speaking on the Dale Jr. download. Earnhardt gave Cleetus credit for finishing the race, but he was direct about what he saw. I saw enough to not approve him for Daytona or Talladega in the O'Reilly Series. To be quite honest with you, Earnhardt said. I watched the YouTube video from the truck test with Nice. I watched the YouTube video of his O'Reilly test with RCR. Then I watched the race. In all 3 of those, he busted his ass. Earnhardt also acknowledged the specific difficulty of Rockingham surface. I would say, and I told him this after the race, the Rockingham surface and tire is going to be one of the trickier. It's a hard tire and it's a relatively repaved surface, so it's out a very small window before you bust your ass, and it's easy to bust your ass. He added that he actually expected Cleetus to wreck, and was genuinely surprised he did. His recommendation: I would say no, I need 1, 2, maybe 3 more events somewhere else before you're going to get this opportunity in the O'Reilly Series to go to Daytona, Talladega. On Tuesday, April 7th, NASCAR made it official. Cleetus McFarland was not approved to compete in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race at Talladega Superspeedway. He is currently approved for O'Reilly Series short tracks, all of ARCA, and all of the Truck Series, but Superspeedways are off the table for now. NASCAR's Eric Probst addressed it directly. We're all huge Cleetus fans. We all watch his videos and are certainly very appreciative of everything he's done in our sport and will continue to do in our. He is approved right now for O'Reilly Series short tracks, which means he's good for all of ARCA, all of truck, and then O'Reilly up for the short tracks. We'd like to see more out of Cleetus in the short tracks. So we're not saying no, but there is more that we would like to see out of Cleetus before we would approve him for Talladega. Cleetus responded publicly on Facebook, calling the decision a kick in the nuts, but he also framed it with perspective. He said it wasn't as much of a letdown as it might seem from the outside. He said he just needs to get out there more and do as much learning as possible. No drama, no meltdown, just a clear-eyed acknowledgement that he has more work to do. Here's the part of this story that the critics sometimes overlook, the numbers. When Cleetus raced at Rockingham, viewership for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series was up over 11% compared to the same race last. The CW drew a 0.65 rating and 1.165 million viewers for the event, a 12% jump in ratings and 11% jump in viewership year over year. That is not a coincidence. Go back further. His Truck Series debut at Daytona drew 1.387 million viewers on FS1, a 37% increase over the same race in 2025 and the highest viewership for a Truck Series race since 2016. Through the first 8 races of the 2026 Nope season, the series averaged 1.282 million viewers per race, up 3.6% year over year. 4 of those 8 races beat their prior year totals. The last 3 in a row all posted year-over-year gains. Cleetus McFarland brings viewers. He brings new fans into the sport. There is no debating that with data this clear. The real challenge for NASCAR and RCR is threading the needle, letting Cleetus grow as a driver at a pace that is safe and legitimate, while continuing to leverage his platform to grow the sports audience. Right now, that path runs through more ARCA races, more Truck Series starts, and more time learning the fundamentals before he gets another shot at the O'Reilly Series at the Superspeedway. And Cleetus himself seems genuinely at peace with it. He said he doesn't care whether he's approved or not. He never expected NASCAR to just wave him through. He's taking the opportunity in front of him, doing the work, and building towards something bigger, one left turn at a time.